Welcome to Do Good, Do Business, a podcast produced by Business Turku, the local development company for Turku region in Finland. We are here to talk about the opportunities that small and medium-sized companies can find in working with international organizations such as United Nations, Red Cross, IMF, etc. This is made possible thanks to funding from the EU's Central Baltic Programme. This podcast is part of the INGO project, that's short for Promoting Exports to International NGOs. Project partners from Finland, Sweden, Estonia, and Latvia are all working together to help SMEs discover these exciting opportunities to do good and do business. Today's guest is Heli Kurjanen, CEO of Lune Group, the company behind the world-famous Lunette menstrual cups. Now, this less than 10 people company from a 2,000 people town from Finland became the official menstrual cup partner of the UN in 2022. How did that happen? Well, we are about to find out. My name is Timea Gál Jäger, and as an entrepreneur myself, I'm dying to know if I will rush to register to the United Nations Global Marketplace after I hear Heli's story. So without further ado, let's meet Heli Kurjanen, CEO of Lune Group, inventor of the Lunette Cup, and a woman on a mission to change the world one cup at a time. Hi, Heli. So great to have you with us.
Hi, Timea. Nice to be here.
Before we jump into how to win tenders as an SME, please tell us a little bit about you and about the company, because you had like a fascinating journey. And by the way, congratulations for Lunette turning 18 years old just this year.
Thank you. Yes, I actually started the company back in 2005. And at that time, I was a stay-at-home mom of two. And my idea was to actually have an online business and keep the kids at home and do this kind of like small, nice business. And then everything started to escalate quite fast. So menstrual cup is not my invention. I have redesigned the cup that has been patented already in 1930s. So it's an old thing, but Lunette is unique to my company. And so I had some issues with the existing cups at the time. And then I decided to redesign the cup and also do marketing part a little bit differently, because I saw that previously the cups were kind of like considered to be a little bit niche, and I saw that there is a lot of potential for them, but still it took us by surprise how fast and globally we have since that gone.
So today we are not only hearing a story about how an SME from a small town in Finland won NGO and IGO tenders, we are also hearing the story of the stay-at-home mom who became the United Nations official partner. I mean, it's quite a story, and I would really like the listeners to enjoy it uninterrupted. So shall we lay the foundations? And Heli, help me out. Let's define in your own words what's a tender, what's an IGO, an NGO, and an INGO.
So INGO, IGO is an intergovernmental organization. So that's an organization formed between multiple countries, like the UN, United Nations is. And NGO is non-governmental organization. It's a non-profit group that operates independently, like smaller NGOs and bigger ones like Greenpeace. And INGO is an international non-governmental organization. So they work like NGO, but they are in a bigger scale in multiple countries. And good examples are, for example, Save the Children or World Vision.
All right. And the tender is a process where you submit bids to supply goods or services to these organizations. And if I recall from our previous conversations, you have worked with both NGOs and IGOs, right?
Yes. We have mainly done work with several different types of smaller NGOs, but also with bigger NGOs. And we have also now worked with IGO, like UN. and we have the agreement. So we attended to one UN tender and won it. So now we have LTA with UN organization.
So a long-term agreement, right?
Long-term agreement. So in our case, that means that it's 3 + 2 years. So in total of 5 years under that one agreement. And typically last fall, I attended to this supplier event in Copenhagen where UN has their headquarters, like not headquarters, but the kind of like Nordic European place. So I attended to this supplier meeting, and it seems that UN organizations typically like to work with long-term agreements. So let's hope that this is just the beginning of a long-term partnership with them.
So take me back to the year when this all started. How did you come up with the idea that you want to apply to tenders? What did you apply to? How did you end up later on creating a new product category within the UN's product catalog and becoming this official partner? So take me back to that time.
Yeah, that is actually a long time ago when we started. So when I started the company, the idea was to mainly focus in Finland, but quite soon after that, we started to get requests from other countries and also like globally from different types of countries. And when the products got much more known and much more used, we also started to get requests from NGOs, because they realized that the period poverty and overall the kind of like period conversation and how periods are affecting on girls and women is something that needs to be solved. So we started to work. I think our first project was with World Vision, Finnish World Vision. And it was back in 2010. So we have quite a long history with this kind of organizations. And when we kind of like saw that there is a huge possibility of make big impact with our products, we also started actively ourselves contact these NGOs and also UN.
So you were actually requested to apply, right? That's how it started.
Yes. So with the UN, for example, the project was quite long because we also created the category for reusable menstrual care. So we started the conversations with them based on the work and good results that came from the NGO work. So we started to work, kind of like get the UN recognize the possibilities of menstrual cups in also their settings. So that was few years, and then I think it was in January 2020 when UN published the tender for period care, and that also include menstrual cups, where we took part.
Are the winners of the tenders always selected based on price considerations only?
Actually, they are not. So I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions that many companies have. Price is sometimes very important. That might be the only criteria, but from our experiences, price is actually not that important. But the biggest criteria, especially when it comes to our products, we have noticed that it's the quality part. So typically they are asking a lot of questions regarding the quality, and oftentimes, especially with these period care products, they use this 2-envelope tender system. That first envelope is based on the quality, and if you pass that, then they will start looking for the price. So I think that is really interesting and good to understand that it's not just the cheapest ones that win.
Good to know. And you were also in a very unique situation because you have a one-of-a-kind product and you were asked to apply to tenders. But say your company has a product that is not unique on the market and you want to reach out to decision makers in these organizations. How should you go about it, in your opinion?
I think the first step is to put your company out there in the UN global marketplace, because that's the way to be visible in a way to the UN organizations. And then also look for the tenders that are published there. But also, I think it is important to have a good website with lots of information in English, preferably. And overall, the networking is super important, because the more you are connected to your product category or business segment, but also from outside of that, the better possibilities for you there are to know from about these different tenders, and also maybe get that kind of like requests that we have received. So we are in a good position in that sense, that we have received emails from different types of organizations that they are now opening this tender and they would like to have us participate in.
So are there any events where you would recommend people to go for networking purposes?
There is actually just now happening soon. Business Finland organizes together with, I think that there are all Nordic these groups are part of the event, but there are some of these Nordic events for UN organizations that they are doing these different types of pitching, but also there are few of these global expos happening. So I think it depends on what kind of products you have and what kind of services you have. But I'm sure that there are for basically everything there are these shows that you should be part of.
Yeah. Okay, so event participation is important.
Yeah, that was how we kind of like managed to get the category into the UN, that we started to attend to these events. We started to have negotiations with the organizations. So we did a kind of like try to get meetings, send out the information. So there has been a lot of this kind of like networking, opening doors, being just out there visibly.
So you helped the UN to establish a new category and you also got a long-term agreement with them. I almost feel bad about asking my next question because the answer will seem so obvious, but I have to because it addresses a misconception. Are SMEs too small to win IGO tenders? I mean, obviously they are not, because you are here with us today and we are listening to your story. But Heli, what do you think? Let's go more into that.
Yeah, I don't think that there are two small companies. Of course, there might be some restrictions in different tenders. So I think it really depends on a specific. But I think that we are a great example of how even small teams and small companies can win global LTAs, and that really comes down to the fact that we have a good quality product and that we have been always visible. So I think that overall the reputation that we have is a good one, and yeah, and we went through the process of submitting information as they requested, and tried to be as thorough as possible. So I think that definitely helps. But I think that this is something that not companies should not be afraid of. If you have a good product or service that you think would be a good fit, submit the information and be part of this, because you never know.
That's right. That's right. Be brave. And to add to that, membership on the United Nations General Marketplace is free of charge. It costs nothing to you to make a profile and to see what kind of services and goods they are looking for. And there is also a fun statistic that 99.8% of non-financial enterprises in the EU are SMEs, and they employ 2/3 of the workforce in the European Union. So if they cannot apply to tenders, then who's left to apply? So just be brave, go ahead and try it out and see if this is for you. And that actually leads me to my next question. Should you apply to tenders to change the world, or should you apply to tenders to find additional revenue streams for your business?
I think it really depends on the company, because we are in this because of we want to change the world. We have a product that can change a world, but also as we all know, companies need revenue and companies need sales in order to survive, and that's why the company is originally established. So even if you don't really have that kind of like value-based business as we do, I think it is super important to be part of these, because there definitely is something that you are doing if you are working with this kind of like organizations that are helping the world to be a better place. So I don't think that it really matters what are the kind of like driving force behind the company to participate. But of course, close to my heart are those companies who are really here planning to have an impact on the world.
Okay, so while this can be an additional revenue stream, you want it or not, you will end up doing good, because that is the mission these organizations have. So go ahead and apply. But are there low-hanging fruits?
Unfortunately, I don't believe that there are. Based on my experiences, this has been a long road. And especially with these UN organizations, they are huge and things are moving slowly with them. So I don't think that this is something that you can expect to have like quick wins. But yeah, I think that overall it is worth of all of that time and efforts that we have put towards this, and I believe that there is a huge possibilities of also doing the business moving forward. But definitely these organizations that we have worked, except the smaller NGOs, but these bigger organizations, it is quite slow to work with them. And you have to take that into account.
It's for the patient people.
Yeah.
That actually leads to the last question I have for you today. You have done so much work over the years, and it was definitely worth it because you made a change in the world. Did you get to see that change?
I have seen a huge change with the work that we have done. Over here also, for example, in Finland, throughout these years, 18 years, there is a lot of development happening, how people talk about periods, how much we know about them, and so on. So there has been a lot of change over here too. But for me, I think the biggest impact has been in those settings with the work that we have done with the NGOs, and where we are really changing girls and women's lives, and they are able to attend school. They have safe period care products that don't cause any infections, and they are able to, because our cup you can use it for many years, so they actually save a lot of money, and there is a huge environmental impact. So there are a lot of different things, and the feedback that we have received is really encouraging and makes me so happy to receive that information. from the ground. And we are always not just giving out the products, but we also want to have this a little bit longer educational part of the training session where we tell how the cups work, because the lack of education is a definitely big minus in many countries outside of the Nordics, and that is how we do the change. We also like to involve boys and men in not in that depth, but still part of the conversation, because we can't really change the world if we are talking to only half of the population.
That is so impressive. You really are a great example of do business, do good. Now let me try to see if my memory is good enough. Help me out if it's not. Let's do a summary to the SMEs listening today of what can they learn from you and your journey. So your number one advice was have a good web page, have good information out there, right?
Yes, that is really, really important. And also have the information, if we are talking about Finnish, Swedish, Estonian companies over here, have that information in English.
Good point. And then the second one was do some networking at events, not necessarily within your own category, but reach out a little bit and get to know people and other businesses.
Exactly. Networking is always the thing. And when I started the company, LinkedIn wasn't existing, but now definitely I think the LinkedIn is the easiest way to establish that kind of like global network that is needed.
I see. And then your third advice was that or not advice, but maybe point to highlight was that there is not an overarching limitation of who can apply to these tenders. Any size company, any revenue company can apply. The tender itself might have its own limitations, but there is no overarching rule that, say, under 5 years old companies cannot apply to tenders, right?
Yes, based on my experience, some organizations ask a lot of information, some less. So I think that it really depends on the tender and organization that you are bidding to. But don't be afraid. I think that there is not much information available. And especially here in Finland, it's not typical that companies are supplying to UN, for example. But based on my feeling, they have a really good teams over there. They have been supportive. They have a lot of information. So although sometimes it might be kind of like overwhelming to see all of those different types of short names that you have, like different and there are a lot of information that is completely new, but still they have a lot of good information and educational materials, so it's not that hard.
Yes, and also, like you mentioned that Finnish companies are not much applying. There can be a misconception that Finnish products are more expensive because the workforce is more expensive. But then you highlighted this very important point that it's not always the lowest price product that wins the tender. They also choose because of quality. So that's a message out there to the Finnish companies.
Yes, I know that we are not the cheapest cup in the market, but I know that we have really good quality, and we have that kind of like from the quality point of view, we have so many advantages compared to cheaper ones out there, that I'm sure that was one of the key things why we were chosen.
Yes. And according to you, you can do this on your own just by following the guidelines that, for example, the United Nations puts out there. But if that seems still overwhelming, there is help out there. For those of you listening in from Finland, you can reach into to Business Turku or Business Tampere for help. And to those listening from abroad, you can get in touch with Technopol in Estonia, RISE in Sweden, or the IT cluster in Latvia. So you don't have to do it on your own if you don't want to. Heli, was there any advice that I forgot to mention, something to still add?
No, I think that was really good. I think that overall, you are also welcome to reach out to me if there is something that we didn't cover over here. But I think that these different or Business Finland, for example, and Business Tampere and Business Turku, they are awesome resources for helping out, and it's not that difficult, so just be brave and take part.
Thank you so much, Heli. It was really an honor to get to know you, to hear your story, to have your time in which you shared these super insightful tips and tricks on how to win tenders. I thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
We also have to thank the Central Baltic Programme for making this podcast possible. And I want to thank you as well for tuning in today and listening to us. My name is Timea Gál Jäger, and it was a pleasure to host this podcast. Have a great day and see you around. Bye-bye.